All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm gonna get started here. Just start off with where are we? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna mute everybody, and then we can unmute as we have questions or raise your hand. So first thing on the slide here, this is not a titled meeting. Please govern yourselves accordingly. These sessions are being recorded. Please keep yourself on mute during the presentation. Use the chat feature to send questions to the host. We will cover them all as we go. There will be a poll at the end. Make sure you fill out the poll before you leave. We'll start the poll towards the end of it. So our upcoming schedule, Thursday, we got Improving Communications with Technology by Brother Adam Martin. Then next week we have 6 Steps to Initiation, Grand Lodge Leo. Following week, Mentor the Mentor, Mentoring the Mentor, and Colonial Freemasonry. With that said, I'll turn this over to Right Worshipful Brother Keith Ryerson for Q&A. Oops.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here on this, what is out my window, a quite rainy evening. I am glad to have this opportunity to field any questions you might have for me or for the Grand Lodge office. We didn't have any in advance, so I guess unless anybody has anything out of the starting gate, anyone? Then I'm going to ask a question myself. Have you all seen the most recent update of the COVID-19 Lodge meeting checklist? Everybody's seen it? I think I might screen share this quick.
I've seen it, but I didn't see what there was any real changes on it.
Well, I will show you here. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Fantastic. So the primary change is the bottom left corner. This meeting will not exceed the current size limits for social gatherings as recommended by the Minnesota Department of Health. And we added a link to the Stay Safe Minnesota plan at the bottom of this. And that's where we expect lodges to be pulling the current gathering size limits from. Currently it's 10. If you have more than 10 people, you shouldn't be meeting. If you can have a meeting easily with fewer than 10 people, then move on to the other items on this list. And if you can satisfy all the criteria, you can meet. But we are recommending that any lodge that routinely draws more than a dozen people should postpone their meetings until the gathering limits have been increased, because we don't want lodges turning members away at the door.
And it's safe to say that if you're holding any kind of voting, that you're trying to hold any voting, you should be holding off on that too at this time because of the restrictions, right?
Certainly anything dealing with petitions. There should be no petitions being balloted on until you can comfortably hold a lodge meeting where you don't have to run any possible risk of having to turn somebody away at the door. Because every member of the lodge is entitled to attend a lodge meeting and cast his ballot on a petition for membership.
What about for first reads on the petitions? Is that something where we can do the first read, but also send out the petition information to the members?
First reads, you can, if you're going to hold a stated meeting, you can have a first reading of a petition. and start the process along those lines. Now, I would go back to, if you have 5 or 6 members extra that show up and you have to start turning people away, you probably should hold off on that. The reality is that we're not likely to be conferring degrees in the near future anyways. So there really isn't, or shouldn't be, a big rush to be getting petitions balloted on. They have nowhere to go at this time. Lodges are not able to confer degrees by order of the Grand Master. And while the Grand Lodge is looking at possible options and possible alternatives for degree conferrals, there is nothing even close to being determined at this point in time. Mike, was that you that asked that?
Yeah,
Did that answer your question?
yes, and that's exactly what we figured on. Yeah.
I guess if anybody else has questions about the COVID-19 protocols, we do have Most Worshipful Brother Ray Christensen with us this evening. Ray is a medical doctor, was a key person on the COVID-19 task force assembled by the Grand Master, and was his input, along with Dr. Ralph Magnuson. Those two brothers were instrumental in helping us navigate all of the various concerns when it comes to COVID-19 safety protocols. So if you have any COVID-19 related questions, particularly when it comes to lodge meetings and the checklist, we have a great expert here who can help us answer those questions.
Keith, I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
I went ahead and sent out an email this morning to our entire membership saying that we are going to have a meeting on Monday, the 8th, and that the protocol says that we have to meet according to the standards, which is only 10 people. So I've asked everybody to acknowledge whether they were going to come, especially the officers. Should I now just talk to our worshipful master and then cancel this entire thing? Basically what the meeting was for was just to get caught up on some of our communications, and also to set up a date for our scholarship committee to meet and issue our scholarships out.
I guess in that particular instance, I would say if you expect more than 10, have it electronically. That doesn't really sound like any kind of business you can't conduct electronically. No petitions, no expenditure of funds. I mean, you're talking about communications, you're talking about committee work. That is all stuff that we are encouraging lodges to continue to do electronically. Just, we understand that people want to meet in person. We all want to meet in person. I don't really want to be locked up in my house any longer, but it's in the best interest of our members at this time that we continue to be very cautious about going back to in-person activities.
Well, then I should go ahead and cancel our meeting.
I would say that's probably the prudent move.
Okay, I'll let John Hawthorne know, and we'll proceed from there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a COVID-19 related question? Huh. I really thought we were going to have more.
I thought it was going to be a hot topic too. So.
Me? Yeah. I guess at that point, I will switch gears ever so slightly and ask whether all of you have managed to log into your Grandview portals.
What is Grandview, right, worshipful?
Well, I was going there next. So Grandview is the newly implemented member management and communication software for the lodges and Masons of Minnesota. It is replacing, over the course of the next several months to a year or so, existing databases that lodges use to track members' information, due statuses, and those sorts of things, as well as the Grand Lodge's database, so that we're all on the same data set to make it easier and more timely for updating member records. It also enables lodges to better engage with their members through Facebook style postings, email messaging. There's text and phone robocalling services available, and a host of other features that will be coming over time. We started rolling it out slowly, starting with lodge secretaries because they're the administrators for every lodge. And it's going to be a slow rollout over the course of the summer. And then the hope is by fall, I'm thinking early September, the system will be fully up and running at its full feature complement. We encourage every member to go log in and register his account and begin exploring what features are available currently. But I would also ask your patience, because as this is a soft launch, there is still a lot of work that is being done within the system to get it functioning at its full feature set.
Keith, having said that, has there been many people who have logged in at this point?
There have been quite a few. I guess I'm going to switch over ever so quickly. If I can.
I'll have to say that I've it's been a good system from a DR perspective to be able to look at some of that information out there and kind of get an idea of what the lodges have.
One thing I can say for our lodge, it is a little difficult not actually talking to people face to face and getting them to log into the system. You know, I've sent a number of emails and everything and talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I'll get that done. And then they forget about it. But I have started calling up members and saying, hey, by the way, you want to log in right now? And that seems to work pretty well, is doing a more live version versus the emailing the information on how to log in or register.
And that's an excellent point. I've had that exact same conversation with more than one lodge secretary, because quite frankly, with the COVID-19 situation shutting down a lot of lodges, people have other things going on in their lives. And Masonry, if it wasn't already, has certainly taken a back seat in most people's daily existence. Not unusual, I understand it. But as we start to get back into returning to lodge meetings and returning to in-person activities, I think what we'll see is an increase in people starting to use the system, especially now that we put the initial notice into the most recent Minnesota Mason, along with the instructions on how any member can go log into his account and begin looking at it. When lodge members start asking their secretaries about the system, they're going to quickly learn that it's probably about time they go check it out for themselves. And the reason I mentioned it, initially was really COVID-19 related, because if you look in, this is my portal that I'm showing you now, my personal member portal. If you look in the resources section, you will always find the most current COVID-19 lodge meeting checklist in this resources portion of your member portal. And I mention this because this checklist is going to change as state guidelines change, as we get better information and better recommendations for safety protocols. We fully expect that this meeting checklist will continue to change and evolve over the course of time. This is the best and most expedient way for us to get it into your hands. If you log into your portal, you go to resources and look at important resources, it's going to be in there, the most current version exclusively.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Being not very computer literate, I was able to get into this once when you had sent me something to sign up for it, and I did, and I don't have a clue how to get back to it. How do you log into it?
Well, it's browser based. So if you're on a desktop computer, you would open your web browser, and I would recommend bookmarking the link, but it's mn.grandview.systems. That's the URL.
Are we wanting to put that URL on the Grand Lodge website at some point?
There is actually already a link on the Grand Lodge website to log into the member portal. It's on the homepage. If you scroll down just below the news, there's 2 boxes, one to log into the member portal, one to subscribe to the eMason. We'll be continuing some revisions, but that was the first stop for the link.
Awesome.
So you can always get to it from there. If you're using a tablet or a phone, they have instructions for downloading it as a progressive app onto your device. And then it'll just be click the icon and it'll pull up. You won't have to open the browser at all. So I would recommend for certainly every secretary to bookmark the page, download the app onto your device, save your credentials, and be ready to use it, because this is how lodges are going to be administered as we move forward.
One question that came up is when can we give the registration information to our, well, basically the people coming up? We got a couple of fellow crafts, for instance. Do we wait until they are master masons before we allow them to log in, or do we give it as soon as they become a entered apprentice?
So once they go in, once you've added them into the system as a candidate, they will be assigned a unique member ID number. There's not much for anybody who is not yet a master mason in Grandview in the member portal, but any candidate could get access to the member portal. You can give them the ability to sign up for a member portal account as a candidate. I believe I'm going to back. Oh yeah, well, you can see it right here. An introductory message on behalf of your master of your lodge. It's basically the first quest book.
Okay.
That we have added into the resources. And this is about all the candidate will see, is this particular piece in resources. Because everything's tiered access based on your level of membership and based on your office, and not everybody gets to see everything. So candidates only get to see the candidate level resources. As we continue to fill out the system, entered apprentices will have the entered apprentice section of the quest books, fellow craft, their section of the quest books, and then master masons, where you get kind of the rest of everything. Lodge masters have a section, DRs have a section, lodge secretaries have a section in a slightly different place, but it's all tiered access based on your permissions.
Okay.
And from the mentoring committee, we will be doing, adding some content to that for, related to the binder stuff. We'll be adding it for each of those levels. As you can see here, it's just kind of slowly getting built out at this point.
Yes, right now we're still in the data migration process. So initially we imported all active members' records, and deceased and NPD members as well. But we're now following up with members who used to be members of other lodges, and members who took their degrees in a lodge that's not their current lodge. We're still going through all of those records. So in the case of, I see Right Worship Brother Doug Campbell on this meeting, Doug took his degrees at Richfield Lodge, and now he's a member of Cataract Lodge because Richfield Lodge merged. That wasn't included in the original data import. So now we're going back through with a secondary data import to update all of those historical records. That's why this is not going to be fully built out until fall, because it takes time to do all these data migrations. We're working through it. As soon as we're through with the data migrations, we're going to start moving into populating the resources and moving files off the Grand Lodge website and into Grandview. It's a robust system that's got a lot of capabilities. It's just going to take us a little bit of time to get everything functioning.
I got a
Sean?
question.
Hi, Sean.
Hello. So I've been really playing around with the system, love a lot of the features on it, just wondering if there is a feature in regards to when we do have candidates. I've taken all the time to put all the information into the system. Is there a way to generate a report that can be sent off to the investigative committee members?
I don't know. We blocked some of the features in Grandview pertaining to candidates and investigations because it didn't comply with our code. And that might trip up what you're asking about. I'm going to have to check on that.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because I've been trying to find a way to export at least some of the data.
Yeah, I understand. Why don't you send me an email if you would, just so I don't forget, and I'll follow up with them and find out, and we'll let you guys know.
Okay.
So a question came up about the member numbers. It is on your dues card.
Well, it's on your dues card for most people.
Okay.
What we're finding is that in spite of our best efforts to print it on people's dues cards, it did not make it 100% of the time.
Secretary will have access to that, your lodge secretary.
Provided he's logged into Grandview, he will, yes. So the member number needed to register your member account is the Grand Lodge identification number. That is not commonly used anywhere but the Grand Lodge office. Now,
it is also on the newsletter.
oh, it is also on. See, this is why I love Doug. He's smarter than I am by 100%.
Yeah, because people that haven't paid their 2020 dues definitely don't have it because it wasn't on there last year at all.
Yep.
So maybe in your next column or next instructions, switch it from the dues card to their mailing label.
That is really good thinking. Thank you.
For the Minnesota Mason, it's on.
Yep. Yep. That's the unique identifier for keeping tabs on people so we can update when we get the report back from the USPS address verification.
I did not know that.
And I did not think of that. Thanks, Doug.
I'll ask another question.
Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Member gets locked out, can't get in. It says their account's locked. Is that something that they can do through the login page to reset it, or do they need to contact you?
I think it depends, actually. There's supposed to be password reset functionality on the member login page. We did have one member who tried that a couple of times and was having trouble with it. If they do get locked out and try the password reset and it doesn't work, email the Grand Lodge office. We have the ability to unfreeze them. Certainly the option of last resort. Not only because we have a lot of stuff going on and it might take a little time, but it's always better if the member is able to do it himself. Otherwise, we have to issue a temporary password and then they have to go and change it, and it just creates extra layers of confusion and mayhem.
Is that a function the lodge secretary can do, or is that only?
I don't believe so. That's a super admin type deal.
I couldn't find it, so I would agree.
Yeah, and I know I can do it because I've had to do it once already. But it's not something that we want to get in the habit of. Any other questions?
One question came up, and I'm sure this is coming in the future as things get flushed out a little more on the system, but adding awards. The one that comes to my mind is the Hiram Award, so we can keep track of who's received it and who hasn't in the lodge. That section is not available right now, I guess.
Really?
There's an awards section, however, it requires a pull-down menu, and the pull-down menu is blank. Unless it's been updated recently.
It should have been updated recently. Where are you, Mike? We're going to give Mike a Hiram Award.
Yay! Oh, okay.
Right there.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen the update yet.
Yeah, so it took a little while from the add in all of the various awards. This is by no means a complete list because every lodge has their own unique award here and there. We're still debating internally whether we're going to add every lodge's little unique awards or if we're just going to go with kind of a superset of Mason of the Year, obviously Hiram and Dwayne Anderson, the service years, and then the Grand Lodge Hiram Award. Those are already in. If you have awards that you'd like to see included, please send me an email with them and we'll take it under consideration. It's probably going to end up being a case-by-case basis.
I'm not sure that this functionality is turned on for everyone else yet, Keith. I can't get into it.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to ask. But Mike, to go answer the other part of your question, we are currently populating the Hiram Award recipients.
Okay.
Pete's got the list, and anytime he's got free time, he's making updates. So at some point, we'll have all however many thousand of them in.
I'm sure it'll take some time.
It will, and once we get a little bit further along, we can just import the rest. But because they're working on other data migration stuff and Pete has some free time, I figure why not?
So Keith,
Yes.
are the quest books a thing of the past?
No, at least not right now. We still offer them for sale to lodges. If your lodge prefers paper copies, we're certainly happy to provide them. We have a stockpile of them, but they've been available as PDF files on the website for some time. I think eventually we will probably phase out the paper versions just because it doesn't make a lot of sense in today's day and age. If somebody has strong feelings otherwise, I'm certainly willing to have that conversation. But for the time being, because we have a stockpile, we're not going to stop selling them. We might as well sell off what we have and deal with it when we're out.
I believe the mentoring book also incorporates those quest books also, if I'm not incorrect.
They do.
Another great
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, I think you'll find the quest books are kind of scattered throughout various pieces of mentoring over the course of history, and certainly in several places spattered across the Grand Lodge website.
No, they are available under the resources tab on Grandview as well
Well, the one is.
for members. If you go over to the right-hand side, I thought there was.
They're not all. They're just the first one or the first two in the candidates, because so the quest books are really split up by stages of your initial Masonic journey. I added the candidate ones in, but I didn't want to get too far down the rabbit hole because A, I was really slammed trying to get some of this data cleaned up, and B, I wanted to consult with the mentoring committee because that's really their baby at this point. And I didn't want to just, take wholesale action on their behalf without at least talking to them first. So they will be in resources because this is immediately available and super easy to find for anybody who happens to log in. But we also know that not everybody's going to log in. There are jurisdictions that have been using Grandview since it started, and they're still not running at even 75% usage by members, because you just break down the demographics and there's just not that many active Masons across the jurisdiction. But it doesn't mean somebody might not want the quest books anyway. So at least for the time being, like I said, we're going to keep kind of two sets of things going simultaneously. So I guess the other piece I might mention, since I'm already in here and screen sharing, is as you start into the member portal is the seminars area, which we don't have anything upcoming at the moment, but there are completed seminars with recordings down the right-hand column. The introduction to Grandview is a great opportunity to kind of see the nuts and bolts of the system on a broad overview setting. There's, as a lodge secretary, lodge accounting and dues is a big one. Hosting seminars through Grandview is a big one. Their April 2020 update, that's all the new features that probably aren't turned on in our system yet because I asked them not to, but will be mostly made available to you at some point in the not too distant future. And then I've slowly started to add our webinar videos in. We've got delivering a quality member experience in there now, and we'll be continuing to build that out as sort of as our webinar series archive, just a supplemental area where you can go and find all of those resources. Anybody else have a question? It's an awfully quiet bunch tonight. Must just be that time of the month, huh?
Well, we had a lively session last time.
Yeah, well, yes, that is true. That's why I like to bring special guests on. They make things more interesting.
All right, well, is there anything else to go through? Well,
There's not really anything else that I have. We will be starting next week. We're going to be scheduling some more Grandview training sessions, a little more in the weeds type things for secretaries and treasurers and maybe even lodge officers and DRs. If you have questions, please let me know. We're happy to try to answer questions. Like I said, there's a lot of features that aren't turned on yet. So if you're looking for a specific feature, there's a pretty decent chance that it's already in the system, and we just need to activate it once the system's ready to go. But otherwise, go poke around. It really is quite robust, not just for lodge secretaries, but for members and for lodge officers and DRs also.
I think a big thing is once we do get back into lodges and stuff, we can actually show this to people, and as they come into lodge, probably get them registered at the lodge too if they want.
Absolutely. I could totally see lodges helping members sign up for it. There's functionality that it does allow for, and obviously we don't have it turned on right now, but allows for members to scan in when they attend lodge, to make life easier for the secretary in case somebody forgets to sign the book. So there's all of those sorts of pieces as well. And there's also, although it's not official yet, a virtual dues card that will eventually give members the ability to have a dues card on their phone that's scannable for verification purposes. Again, not for official use just yet, but we do anticipate turning that on at some point in the next several months.
Looking to the future, is there a plan to incorporate the ability to pay dues?
That's already built into the system. It's just a matter of turning on that feature set. And because dues payments aren't really on our immediate agenda, we haven't gotten there yet. It's all prioritization and processing at this point. So the first piece is getting all the data in and make sure member records are correct. And then late summer, we'll be shifting into, dues cards and dues renewals piece so that lodges are ready to go come fall when it's dues notice time. But the system does allow you to collect dues electronically and members to pay electronically through the portal.
Keith, I have about 50 guys that hadn't paid this year's dues yet, and I tried the little dues notice reminder. Of course, it only went to the 20 or so that had email addresses in there. A lot of them don't have an email address in your system, even if it had it in my old system. But I got a couple of them that got a hold of me and say, "Oh, gee, I didn't know I hadn't paid my dues yet." And, so the reminders went out pretty slick. It just it didn't give me a lot of control over what was said on them. But I had one guy send me what I told him, so that was kind of good.
Yeah, and as we go, the dues notices are fairly customizable. A lot of it's just getting the configuration set up. And like I said, because dues notices don't generally go out till fall, we haven't spent much time on that portion of it yet. I expect that will come late July, early August when I really flip into dues card season and dues renewal season.
Will we have some training on how to set up electronic payments?
Yes, I believe you will. I think that's going to be part of what's coming up that we'll be scheduling starting next week. I don't think the sessions are going to start next week, but we're going to start scheduling them next week, looking out a couple of weeks. It should cover in depth on the accounting pieces. And in the accounting package is electronic payments and that sort of, and dues notices and all of those components as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Keith, are you going to require us to use the accounting, or if we're happy with QuickBooks, we can keep using it?
If you have accounting software you're comfortable with, by all means, feel free to keep using it. We're not going to force your hand on switching over to this accounting. And actually for the next 12 to 18 months, we're not going to force your hand to switch over to using Grandview at all. We certainly encourage it. We want you to use it because it makes everybody's life a little bit easier, particularly when it comes time for annual reporting. But we understand that this is going to be a transition period. We're not trying to ram it down your throats. We hope that you'll see the benefits of it and change willingly. But when it comes to the accounting piece, if you have accounting software that works for you, keep it. There's absolutely no need to change unless you want to. We'll still take P&L snapshot for your year-end financials. That's fine.
Will treasurers be invited along for that training?
They will be, yes. It would very much be helpful if they registered their accounts and were able to see and register for the seminars directly through the Grandview portal, because that's how they handle registrations for all of those sessions. But I think we had a few lodge treasurers. Well, Jason, you were there.
I was there.
Lodge treasurers at the first couple of sessions.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Still raining down there?
Yeah, kind of.
Pretty nice up here at Cross Lake.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
All right. So,
See you guys.
See you, Doug.
oops. Where do we go? There we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Looks like everyone hit got the poll done. Again, here's the upcoming schedule moving forward, starting next Thursday. improving communications with technology with Brother Adam Martin. There we go. Thank you very much for everyone who attended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Nice job, Keith. Thanks for everything.
Good night.
See you guys.
Let's see here. Where is that? Oh, there's the recording. We want to find